Fabio Paratici, quote, knows the dynamic of a potential deal to beat Chelsea and Manchester City to the signature of Manuel Locatelli, who is quickly becoming the breakout player of Euro 2020. Links to other Italian players continue with the likes of Domenico Berardi, Stefan De Vrij and Brozovic, while we have an update on Tottenham's interest in Tariq Lamptey and the future of Harry Kane, coming from Fabrizio Romano. Before we do get into these stories, if you are new to the channel and you want more of this content, plus some very, very big news coming up in the next couple of days, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell to ensure that you are first to every bit of content on the channel. Hit that like button if you are excited about Tottenham's potential signature of Locatelli on the eve of his 2 goals against Switzerland in the group stage of Euro 2020. And look, if you do want access to other exclusive content as well, including that news a little bit early, make sure to hit that join button down below to become a channel member starting at just £1.99 per month. Manuel Locatelli, of course, as I said, scored twice for Italy tonight against Switzerland, including an outstanding strike from the edge of the box. The Sassuolo midfielder, like I said, is quickly becoming the breakout player of Euro 2020, as a lot of Italian players could potentially be, as their form continues to skyrocket with tonight's 3-0 victory against Switzerland. And according to Gazzetta dello Sport, Manuel Locatelli could be a Spurs player. Fabio Paratici believes he knows the dynamic of a deal to convince Sassuolo to sell to Spurs and Locatelli to come to North London, as a whole host of clubs continue to be interested in him. And Fabrizio Romano even gave an update on this tonight. He tweeted out a while ago, I'll quickly get that tweet up, but essentially confirming that a number of top Premier League clubs were interested in signing Manuel Locatelli. Romano said Manuel Locatelli has been one of the best Serie A midfielders so far. Not surprising to see him shining at the Euros. Sassuolo always asked for €40 million to sell him before this match tonight against Switzerland. Premier League top clubs interested. Allegri wants him at Juventus. Open race. So Sassuolo, before this tournament, were asking for €40 million to as a bid for Manuel Locatelli. If they were to sell him, I can imagine that will be going up this tournament. And everyone tries to predict who's going to be the breakout player, who's going to be the next big thing in a European Championship. You know, last in 2016 it was Alexander Golovin made a poor decision with his transfer to Monaco and nearly got relegated the season after that. In the World Cup in 2014 it was James Rodriguez. Could it be Manuel Locatelli in this tournament? Well, like I said, he scored twice for Italy tonight, and another very impressive win as they beat Switzerland with 3-0, confirming themselves as the first team out of the group stage. And we're going to take a quick look at Locatelli last season and how he fared for Sassuolo. As Fabrizio Romano there said, he was one of the best midfielders in the Serie A last season, and not quite a name that is particularly known outside of Italy. I will admit, I was quite surprised to see him starting for Italy against Turkey in the opening game of the competition last week. He's in there purely because Marco Verratti is injured and isn't in the squad, but he played 34 times for Sassuolo in the Serie A last season, scoring 4 and assisting 3, picking up 9 yellow cards along the way, no reds at all. So he's pretty much a stalwart in that team, starting the majority of those games as well, playing 90 minutes in every game up until match day 11. And I can only see 4 games there where he actually didn't play 90 minutes. So of the 34 he played, 30 90-minute games. And that is the type of thing we want in our team. You know, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg played every single minute of our season this year. We need those midfielders who are fit, who can play every game. Tanguy Ndombele perhaps not quite reaching that degree of fitness that we would ideally want. Maybe Manuel Locatelli is a good player to get in there. And in terms of the kind of style of play Paulo Fonseca uses, we've spoken a lot about Ndombele maybe being the man in that left-sided midfielder role that Jordan Vertu is currently playing at Roma, who can drop deep and kind of orchestrate a break or orchestrate a kind of passing move from in almost a left centre-back role, but also being the man who can bomb forward and can make those runs in beyond the lines. And Locatelli absolutely showed tonight that he is fully capable of doing that. The first goal that he scored played an outstanding sweeping ball out to the far side to Domenico Berardi, then followed that pass himself and was on the end of the ball into the box to put Italy 1-0 up. And Berardi, another player we'll touch on briefly, as reports continue to link Spurs to Berardi as well. And the second goal was just outstanding ability on his left foot outside the box, drives it into that bottom corner, showing a lot more than perhaps people would have expected of him. Looking at who scored, looking at his strengths, he's very strong with passing and tackling. So can break up play, can be that ball winner in midfield, but can also be the progressive man who starts those attacks. His other strengths include through balls, dribbling, blocking the ball, and ball interceptions. So very, very balanced list of strengths there among offensive and defensive styles of play. His weaknesses, according to Who Scored, he has no significant weaknesses. His style of play, likes to do layoffs, gets fouled often, and as we saw tonight, he likes to shoot from distance with often with great aplomb. And he's a player that could be very much on Tottenham's radar and could be a very good signing for us. Timothy Epen says, Matt, no offence, and I hope they prove me wrong. We won't get Locatelli. His value might have shot up by 20 million in this game, but I hope we get him. And that is the big concern. I was kind of concerned about Marcel Sabitzer with as a potential signing. If he had a good Euros, as he started very well against North Macedonia with that brilliant assist for Stefan Leiner, although there is a year left in his contract, his value might be pushed up by other teams simply being interested, and that is a concern I have with him. But maybe with Locatelli, that could be a concern for us in that regard as well. We got Dara, Shauna Blaney, Yassine Shakur, a few channel members in the live chat there. Good to see all of you in here. I apologise for the confusion earlier. The stream was initially scheduled for 9, but I was working till 10. So I apologise for that. I didn't realise until about 20 minutes after that. But thank you everyone for tuning in, the 175 of you who are here now. Arkan mentioning Sergio Ramos. We're going to touch on him as well, as the initial reports following the announcement from his departure at Real Madrid suggest he could end up in London, and other reports suggesting a bid has already been made by a Premier League club. And I apologise, I've had the wrong story up below me there all along. But just to reiterate there, Fabio Paratici knows the dynamics of a potential deal to win the race for Italian Manuel Locatelli. And like we said, the other teams who were in the race there, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, are Chelsea and Manchester City. And look, you'd have to imagine if it did come into a bidding war, or if it did simply come down to Locatelli choosing which team he wants to go to, I don't think we'd have that much of a chance in there. But if the two teams, opt for different approaches or try to go for different, maybe more talented players, we could end up being right in that race. As Martin says there, Martin, first of all, good to see you tuning in, says he will go to Juve. Fabrizio Romano said Massimiliano Allegri would like him at Juventus, so maybe he'll stay in Italy and will end up at Juventus as they look to regain their Italian title, losing out on it for the first time in 10 years to Inter Milan, as other Italian reports suggest that Fabio Paratici and Paulo Fonseca are planning a raid on Inter Milan with the likes of Stefan de Vrij and Marcelo Brozovic potentially available. And that report, I can't remember exactly where it did come from. Not the most reliable source, if I remember correctly. But Fabio Paratici is potentially planning a raid for those two, Brozovic and De Vrij, for only €40 million. We know Inter Milan do want and do need to sell this window as they look to raise funds both in the transfer market and in their reducing their wage bill as well. So maybe some good players to get from there. And as Arkan says, Paratici is going to be the key to success if we ever reach it. And these links to these Italian players that are already performing well at Euro 2020 could be a very good way for us to go. And Hotspur Edition actually tweeted a while ago saying it isn't a coincidence that the likes of Locatelli, Berardi have been performing so well at the Euro since they were linked to Spurs. Undoubtedly driving the prices up there. Now just to jump back to that story that was on the screen all along, which shouldn't have been. Sky Sports reported earlier today that Tottenham are interested in signing Brighton and England right back Tariq Lamptey this summer. We're going to sign a right back. Fabrizio Romano said that earlier. We'll touch on that a bit more. That Spurs are going to sign a right back this summer. The initial kind of stories that we heard suggested we would be going for a right back if we lost Serge Aurier. Otherwise, we'd be sticking to what we have. Now, I don't know if this story is kind of more of an indication that Aurier is closer to a departure than we had initially expected, or if it's simply a case of we're buying a right back regardless because of the failures we had in that position last season. But Sky Sports saying that Tariq Lamptey is our target. Personally, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not exactly excited about this deal. I would prefer Max Aarons from Norwich, but even if we didn't get Aarons, I just don't think Lamptey is the kind of caliber of player or the kind of exact profile that we're looking for. Of course, there are many concerns with his physical stature, if it's going to be defending balls at the back post, or simply if it does come down to a physical battle with the likes of maybe Christian Pulisic, who could match him for pace in the Premier League. Well, then you would imagine Lamptey would lose out on that. And I don't know exactly how tall he is, but I know he's not tall at all. And that would be a concern for me. And it may be a kind of small concern in the grand scheme of things, but he's missed a lot of this season with an injury. Could it end up being a recurring injury, that one that he carries all the way through, and we quite simply struggle to get him on the pitch as much as we would need to get a return on our investment? I'm not quite sure. And then as well, how much will Brighton really want for him? Because Brighton are making moves in this window. They've agreed a deal to sign Nicolas Gonzalez, the player that we're planning a move for, which is another story we'll touch on more a bit later. They could potentially bring in a lot of money with Ben White. Arsenal today had a £40 million bid rejected for him, and as well with Yves Bissouma probably on the move this summer as well. They could be bringing in a lot of money, and they'd want to maximise that. if Tariq Lamptey was going to leave. And of course, if Lamptey does leave, they will need to replace him. And the question then is, how much will they actually need to replace a player who had the impact of that size on that team last year when he was still fit. So this is one to keep an eye on. At the moment, it is simply interest as reported by Sky Sports, one that we will be keeping a close eye on, but one that I'm not particularly excited about happening. And that story from Fabrizio Romano, as I mentioned there, he said on the Here We Go podcast this afternoon that Fabio Paratici will work with Paulo Fonseca to get a new centre-back and a new right-back for Tottenham. They're two positions that absolutely 100% need to be addressed and need to be fixed this summer. Centre-back, I think, regardless of who comes in as manager, regardless of who our director of football is, regardless of who's in charge of this, we will be getting in a centre-back. I think for every centre-back that we lose, we'll bring in another centre-back. So I think it is one minimum, and then for every departure we get in an extra one. So hopefully, if we're seeing the likes of Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez move on, we could potentially bring in 2 or 3 centre-backs. The targets, as we said yesterday, as mentioned by Alistair Gold, are Joachim Andersen and Nikola Milenkovic, and that is the type of centre-back we need to look for, a ball-playing centre-back with a good recovery pace and good in the air as well. It's no surprise we are being linked with some players from Roma. Gianluca Mancini is the main name being thrown about, as Paulo Fonseca could potentially want to bring some players with him from there. The concern then is, will Jose Mourinho allow these players to move on to Spurs? There could be a bit of politics in play there. And as Jack mentions there, look, Fonseca's gone on holiday. The manager that a lot of people were expecting to be announced today wasn't announced today, and he's now gone on holiday to the Ukraine before this deal gets done. And his wife actually put up on Instagram a couple of days ago, essentially confirming the deal, saying that she, having to move again, saying goodbye and all that, but a new adventure is coming. So I think there's no concern about whether or not this deal will get done, but the timing of it is being pushed out further and further. And we're then looking at when we will actually dive into the transfer market and get these players. I think it will be after we sell some players. Paratici is already starting on his clean out. He's already told players that they will be moved on this summer, so go find a new club. I think that then when we see kind of who we get to move on, that's when we start to work on the incomings. But centre-back and right-back, as Romano says, will be brought into Spurs this season. Who they're going to be, the question still remains, but very, very important that we do address those problem areas, and it looks very much as though we will. And look, other links to Serie A players, like I said, will continue to happen. With Paulo Fonseca coming in, they were going to happen, but then with Paratici as well, it's just simply going to be doubled. Paratici bringing players from Juve, Fonseca bringing players from Roma, then the whole situation at Inter Milan, and then the normal links that we would have gotten anyway. Domenico Berardi, another player who was really impressing at the Euros, got the assist actually for Manuel Locatelli's first goal this evening in that game against Switzerland. Berardi also plays with Sassuolo. They are club teammates. I personally thought he was a bit wasteful in that first game against Turkey, but he did quite well in terms of creating opportunities and things like that. And he was even more impressive tonight, I thought, as the entire Italian team was. And the very fact that he's keeping Federico Chiesa out of that side on the right wing, I think, goes to show just how impressive he is. Leonardo Spinazzola, another name that is being mentioned, the left wing back that Paulo Fonseca brought to Roma and quickly made one of his key players in that team. Spinazzola, 2 very impressive performances for Italy. I thought was especially good in that first game against Turkey. Not as much tonight, but again, a very, very good performance from him. This is one of the more likely ones that I'm looking at as potentially happening, and the question of Sergio Reguilon, whether he will be at the club next season, of course remains, because we need not forget that Real Madrid have that buyback option on Sergio Reguilon, and the rumours that we were hearing towards the end of last season with Zinedine Zidane not wanting him back, of course, are futile now as Carlo Ancelotti comes back into the club. Maybe he could be looking more to the future and maybe moving on the likes of Marcelo and bringing in Sergio Reguilon. So I think if Reguilon does go, which I personally can't see happening, I think Spinazzola would be one of the main targets for us. Paul Markey with the €5 super chat. Paul, thank you so much for that. Always coming in with those super chats. Really, really do appreciate it. Says, if we have to wait until we sell, we get nothing other than leftovers, and that is a massive concern. Anyone else, by the way, if you do want to have your questions answered or comments read out and discussed, please do put in the super chat using the $ beside the live chat button. It's a great way to support the channel, and like I said, we'll guarantee your comment is read out. And on that, I think this is something, Paul, that Spurs have dealt with in every window that we've ever seen. And it's not only the getting the leftovers, but it's the price being bumped up. Because if you look at, take for example, Manuel Locatelli at Sassuolo. If this is a deal that we will be trying to get done, if it is moved on till maybe we let Harry Winks go with 3 weeks left in the window. Then with 2 weeks left, we move for Manuel Locatelli. Not only is there the potential that one of those players isn't there, we have to go for a different midfielder from Sassuolo. But even if we do end up getting the player we want in Locatelli, the price has bumped up a lot because Sassuolo not only are losing one of their best players, but have reduced time to try and get the replacement for him. So in every way, in every possible description of this, leaving deals till we move our players on or till the end of the window is puts all the power in the selling club's hands. And it's really surprising that Daniel Levy hasn't learned that yet. But I suppose it's another excuse for him to end up getting the cheaper option or the option that's just simply easier to sign. But I fully agree, Paul. It's a fantastic point. And again, thank you for that super chat. Of course, we've already mentioned Manuel Locatelli, who's listed there on the bottom of the screen. The other ones are, like I said, Marcelo Brozovic and Stefan de Vrij. I think there will be links all throughout the summer to players from Inter Milan, and whether or not any of them will come to Spurs, I'm not entirely sure. I think the wage bill over there could be one that potentially leads to Spurs missing out on some of those players there, but certainly one to keep an eye on. It's going to be difficult to pick in the bones out of these links as we kind of try and figure out which of these are actually realistic and which of these are actually ones that may happen. But like I said, very important to keep an eye on those ones. I think we will be bringing in one or two players from the Serie A this summer. Another story before we touch on the Harry Kane situation is Brighton, according to The Guardian, have agreed a £25 million deal to sign Spurs target and Argentinian winger Nicolas Gonzalez from Stuttgart. It was a couple of days ago we heard from Gianluca Di Marzio and Fabrizio Romano that Tottenham were planning a move for Nicolas Gonzalez, who's impressed over the last couple of seasons at Stuttgart. However, Brighton may have jumped the gun on that one and gotten in there before us agreeing that deal. Fiorentina had already made an offer of about €25 million, including add-ons. However, the bizarre situation with their manager at the moment, I'm not quite sure that is a deal they will be pursuing just yet. And if you're not aware that Gennaro Gattuso, who took the job 20 days ago following his dismissal at Napoli, is already set to leave Fiorentina after a disagreement with the board over transfers and stuff like that. A very strange situation, but maybe will cost Fiorentina their target in Nicolas Gonzalez. And this we could potentially miss out on him as well. Again, The Guardian saying that Brighton have agreed a £25 million deal to sign him. Before we move on to the Kane stuff, I do want to mention as well, Sergio Ramos has of course tonight left Real Madrid, or is about to leave Real Madrid. An official statement from the club confirmed that after Fabrizio Romano broke the news a few minutes prior. Reports from France are saying that he could end up in Paris or London, and further reports from the continent are saying that a Premier League club has already made an offer to him. Now, looking at who this could potentially be, I don't think it's Spurs, simply because the wages will be absolutely through the roof. I don't think it's Chelsea because he's a very, very similar player to Thiago Silva, who's just signed that new 1 year contract. And in a three at the back, you need that one kind of commander, and then you need the two kind of quicker players either side. I really don't think they would go with Sergio Ramos and Thiago Silva because they're too similar and won't quite fit in a team together. Manchester City, it's not the type of deal they go for. Manchester United potentially could be the team that's made an offer. I know it's not London where he will apparently end up, but I just don't think it's Spurs. But it is again one to keep an eye on, because we were linked to him last summer before he surprisingly stayed at Real Madrid for that further year. But that is one we'll certainly be talking a bit more about on the channel in the coming weeks. And Harry Kane. Okay, let's talk about this one. Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph is saying that Tottenham remain desperate to keep Harry Kane, but are preparing for his departure just in case. While Fabrizio Romano is saying that Manchester City are determined to sign Harry Kane this summer, but Spurs will only accept a crazy bid. And look, that's the question. That's the concern. No matter what Spurs say and what their stance is on keeping Harry Kane, if a high enough bid comes in, Daniel Levy will sell. Now the news is, or the kind of general feeling is that it'll take something minimum £150 million to convince Daniel Levy to part ways with Harry Kane. I've heard that it is actually looking more likely that Kane will leave the club than stay, and I've been extremely confident that Daniel Levy would just kind of forget that gentleman's agreement he apparently had with Harry Kane and just accept that you're staying regardless of what we agreed with. You have a 3-year contract. Let's try and keep you here, and you will be staying for the next year. However, what I have heard is that it is looking likely, barring an injury to Kane or millions and millions of pounds being invested in this team, Kane will be on the move, and I can't see that happening. I don't think we're going to spend enough to convince Kane to stay. So personally, I was really on the side of allowing him to leave, whereas now I'm kind of looking at, he probably could be on the way out, which is very, very disappointing to kind of accept, and it's one that will cause a lot of pain for Spurs fans as the window goes on and stuff. But Harry Kane, at the moment, looking maybe more likely to be leaving. We're on 71 likes at the moment. Please do smash that like button if you haven't already. There's nearly 300 people watching, so I'm sure we can get that number to 100. Let me know your thoughts on Kane in the live chat, and we'll go through a few comments and see what the general feeling is. Of course, as Edson there mentioning, Danny Rose, he joined Watford today as a free agent following his release from Spurs, as you can see to my left there. No, he's saying we can't sign everyone. We can sign everyone, but it's about kind of figuring out who exactly we do want to sign and who we're going to sign as the window continues and goes into full flow, hopefully very soon. Ben Kaufman says, would Tottenham be interested in Sergio Ramos? We know Paratici loves a freebie, and that is a very good point as well. Maybe it's Spurs, they're the kind of character player, the demographic of player that we're looking for could be completely different. And we know Fabio Paratici is essentially the master of free signing, so maybe that is one that Spurs could go down. Maybe it is more likely than I think that Ramos or the Spurs could be the team that made that offer for Ramos. Ben also says Man City don't have £150 million, no way, and it's not the kind of type of transfer that City usually go for. I mean, they spend a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money, but their record signing is Ruben Diaz for about £70 million. They don't spend the 150 million on this player, 120 million on this player. They buy a lot of players for relatively high fees. So it would be completely out of Man City's kind of general approach to things if they did sign Harry Kane, but I think they're going to have to do that anyway. If it is even Erling Braut Haaland that they might bring in from Borussia Dortmund, because in losing Sergio Aguero, and I know essentially they lost him in quality, I suppose, in the last year and a half, but actually properly losing him now, they do need to replace that, and this could be the time to kind of break that transfer approach they're taking. Ganesh with the $5 super chat. Ganesh, thank you so much for that, really do appreciate it. Says, how true are all these links to Serie A players given that there's still a homegrown player problem? And that's another point to kind of touch on there. I think we're either one below or right on that quota of homegrown players. And with the loss of Danny Rose, maybe we've tipped over that, or it has been made one worse. That maybe could be where the links with Tariq Lamptey, or the interest in Tariq Lamptey is coming from, because he would of course qualify as a homegrown player. I think the links to Serie A players are maybe the exact IDs of those players are a bit kind of speculative, or kind of investigative journalism, to the point of, well, this is the type of player Spurs need, so maybe this is where they're looking at. I do think we will be going for Serie A players this summer, and I'd be very surprised if we didn't get 2 or 3. It's just, like I said, a case of trying to figure out which one of these is the most realistic, and that's one that we will have to kind of figure our way through in the coming days and coming weeks. I think the Locatelli one, it probably is a bit more optimistic than realistic because of the performances he's showing in the Euros at the moment, and the likes of Chelsea and Man City maybe being the potential suitors for him as well. Berardi, I think, is very premature. I'm not sure there's something there. And the Inter Milan ones, I think it is just picking players out of Inter Milan that Spurs could be looking for, because they're looking to sell. We're looking to buy Serie A players. It's just it's an easy piece to write, I suppose. Ethelson says, Tottenham aren't lacking in attack. It's a defensive midfield general that's needed, and a quality centre back. End of story. I would argue we have that defensive midfield general in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, but absolutely a quality centre back. I maintain that even if we keep the centre backs we have, we need to, because we need ball playing centre backs, not just people who can defend. Look, we don't have either at the moment, but we need, I think, 2 centre backs, a right back, a right winger. If it's Gareth Bale, great. Otherwise, Nicolas Gonzalez would have been a good option before the Brighton have agreed that deal with him, but. Look, it's going to be a long transfer window, and there's going to be a lot of links, a lot of kind of bones to pick through. And if you don't like reading every single story that comes out, if you just want the most reliable ones, smash that subscribe button here, because we're going to bring you the most reliable stories, and we're going to tell you what you need to listen to and what you don't need to listen to. We're going to break down every single story, break down every single link. We're going to tell you what you need to know about players that we are signing or that we're close to signing. This is the #1 place on YouTube for Tottenham Hotspur transfer news, and I can promise you will not regret it if you hit that subscribe button. Like I said, some big stuff coming up in the next couple of days that'll give you more insight than you could ever imagine. into Tottenham's transfer window. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to be first to that as well. Hit that like button on the stream. We're nearly at 100. I would really appreciate it if we could get to that number. And look, like I said, it's going to be a long window. It's going to be one that we're going to have to get through together. Is the main thing. It's going to be more links than ever, I think, in this one. As Brian Ireland says, Matty Hayes gets it done. Brian, thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in as well. Always good to see you in that live chat. Anyone as well, if you haven't subscribed to Tottenham Away, another very, very good channel, recently hit 1k. Some incredible people on there, and Brian Ireland and Brian Daigle, Jack and Nicky, you'll often see on the two Brians as well, and of course Shy. Make sure to go over and subscribe there. They absolutely deserve the support too. Look, to everyone who's tuned in, to the about 1,200 of you over the last 25 minutes, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments if you'd like kind of different approach to these transfer stories. If you'd like longer live streams, shorter live streams, more guests, less guests, let me know what you want to see, and I can guarantee that we bring it to you on this channel. So again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.